I'm just rolling up my sleeves. I'm ready to experiment. I'm ready to play around with this and just see what I can create. And you're coming at it from the perspective of just trying to create content that adds value, then you can't really go far wrong with that. Oh, hello. Welcome back to another episode of the She Means Business Show. I hope you're having an amazing day. I'm actually back filming episodes for the podcast. I've taken a little bit of time off. It was my kids' half term not that long ago, and it was so nice to just have some days off, and we did nothing. In fact, we started to build a playhouse in the garden. And it was so nice just to take some downtime and just to chill out a bit. So I'm coming at this refreshed. I also want to say before I get into this episode that if you have any questions, any burning business questions you'd love me to answer, or any topics you'd love me to address, I am popping a little link in the show notes for you so you can submit them to me, and I will be answering questions in episodes, which I love doing. And in fact, in this episode, that is exactly what I'm going to be doing. I got an amazing question in from Melissa, and she said, what do you do when your messaging doesn't seem to be hitting the spot? How do you know what you need to change to stand out to your target audience? And I really love this question because so often I feel like I hear people saying, oh, but like no one's responding to what I'm creating, like either my messaging isn't working, or often I hear it interpreted as, for example, like Instagram doesn't work for me, or like my freebies don't work for me, lead magnets don't work for me, or this doesn't work for me. And I'm like, actually, no, it can. If you want it to, it really can work for you. It's just like fine tuning it so that you're creating content that's really landing. And the reality is that every single one of us building a business consistently puts stuff out there that doesn't land, that literally just kind of doesn't get a very good response. I do all the time. So obviously, firstly, my point is that it's normal. It's completely okay for your messaging to not land. Obviously, you want it to land sometimes. Probably you want it to land more often than it doesn't. So it's looking at what do you need to tweak and change so that you really have that breakthrough, and you can build momentum and expand your reach, get more people seeing you, engaging with you, wanting to know more, wanting to learn more from you, wanting to find out how they can work with you or buy from you, or whatever else. From my perspective, the biggest mindset shift that I had that really helped me with this was realizing that building a business is one huge experiment. I mean, I personally take the view that life is one huge experiment. So we're always just having to experiment what's working, what's not working, and then looking and dissecting and investigating everything that we're doing so we can see what we need to change and tweak. And so this is what I do all the time. And I'll give you an example. I did a launch, and in the launch, the sales page went live, and I did not get the response that I wanted. The sales were coming in as a trickle. It was just not the conversion that I was anticipating. And so I looked at that and thought, right, what needs to change here? And so I went to that sales page and I looked at it, and I went through a process of pulling it apart to figure out how I could put it back together in a way that it would maybe convert better. And I didn't know what the changes I made, if they would convert better, but it was just an experiment. I was playing around with it to see what could I tweak, what could I change. So when I was looking at the content, the sales page that didn't convert very well, the first thing I did is I just read it over, and I was really looking at what did I say? What did I say on this sales page? And then when I looked at that, I thought to myself, does this make sense? And when I read it through a different lens of knowing this is not actually converting, I realized, oh my gosh, I had added bits in at the last minute that just didn't really connect. I hadn't actually fully really read it through in the right frame of mind because I was doing so many other things. And I realized that so much of it just didn't fully make sense, wasn't clear enough, wasn't specific enough. And I completely missed that when I wrote the original copy. And so I started to fine tune it and look at how can I tighten this up? How can I be more specific? How can I make sure this makes more sense? And the other question I asked myself is what is it that I really want to say and share? And am I actually saying and sharing it? Because sometimes I think we write what we think we need to write rather than what we want to write. So I went and looked back at it and thought, like, actually, no, I feel like I'm saying this because I think I should say this rather than because it's what I want to say. And so I started to tweak it and just kind of make it more real and make it what I actually just wanted to say. And another question that I asked myself was, what is it that my audience actually needs to hear or see right now? What do they actually need to hear and see? Where are they actually at right now? What are their biggest frustrations and struggles? Where are they getting stuck in relation to like what it is I'm talking about? What are their actual desires? What do they actually want? And how can I help them with that? And I started to rewrite it from that perspective. And don't get me wrong, when I wrote it originally, I really did think I was writing it from that perspective. But when you know something isn't converting, all of a sudden you start to see things differently and you're like, oh, actually, maybe this needs to change, maybe this needs to change. And so for me, I went through that process of just making changes and cutting the noise. Like the first sales page was so overwhelming, so I cut loads of bits out of it. I changed the headline, I changed some of the sections completely, and I redid the whole sales page, and I think it doubled the conversion rate, if not tripled the conversion rate of the sales page. So I realized, okay, I've made some changes and it's had a positive impact. So And I didn't know, obviously, that was going to happen. So if it hadn't have happened and it had made it worse or it had stayed the same, then I would have gone back to the drawing board again. And I'd been like, right, what really needs to change? What do I need to do here? And on the one hand, it could be, this isn't landing because I've targeted and attracted the wrong audience. And the people who I have attracted to this sales page are not the right people for this offer. So that's one possibility. And then looking at, okay, what was the messaging I put out there to get the people to the sales page? And does that all align? Or, just really dissecting like all the different moving pieces. And so when you have messaging that isn't landing, that's what you need to do. You need to look at it and dissect and think, how are people seeing my content or finding my content? Are they the right people? And then what is it that I'm saying to them? What is it that they want to hear or want to see right now? And is everything really like aligning? So is what I'm saying, does it align with my mission of my business? Does it align with me and what I am about and what I stand for? Is it really something that's going to connect and resonate with my dream audience, my amazing dream customer? And just going through the process of asking yourself those questions and then really dissecting it and pulling it apart. So usually that's where I start when something isn't landing. But the other thing is that I think is really important. I'm constantly learning and looking and paying attention to what does work right now. So for example, if you're creating content for social media and it's not landing, which I have done many, many times, I will go and look and see what are other people doing right now. And I'll go on other people's accounts and be like, oh, okay, they tried out this type of video for their content. So I'll look and I'll think, okay, how could I take that idea and apply it to what I have to say and what I have to share? So, for example, there's people out there who do stuff on gardening, which is so completely not in the same realm of what I do, but they have got amazing ideas or amazing hooks they use that I could interpret and use for my business. So I'll go and see, oh my gosh, this hook worked really, really well for that person. I'm going to give this a try and see if it can work well for me. And 9 times out of 10, it does. So sometimes it's also just kind of really looking at what is actually working right now. What are the trends right now? What hooks work right now? And then just testing them out and seeing for yourself if it works. Because sometimes it's just a really small shift in how you're delivering something that makes all the difference. Honestly, when it comes to creating your messaging and your content and what you're putting out there, it is such a trial and error thing. It is just one big experiment. All that said, I do think that the clearer you get on what is your mission, what is it that you're here to share, what is it that you're here to say, what are the stories that are important to you to share, what are the tips you want to get out there, what's the value you really want to bring to the table and add to somebody, who is your audience, what are their fears and their desires, what are their challenges and their struggles, where are they at in their life right now, and how does what you have to say help them? How is it going to be valuable for them. When I'm posting out content, whether it's an email, whether it's something on social media, whether it's a new freebie I've created, I always think, if I saw this and I wasn't me and I wasn't, part of my business, would I be like, oh my gosh, this is so helpful and valuable? Or would I be like, what the hell is that? Or that's boring? Or I'm confused. Like, what is that? And I really try and ask myself, what would I think and feel if I was in my audience's shoes? And if it doesn't feel compelling or it doesn't make sense, then I'll be like, right, I need to go back to the drawing board with this and tweak it and change it. And obviously sometimes I put stuff out there that I think is going to work and then it doesn't work at all. So it is like, that's where it comes back to just being an experiment. And I think when you just are open to that and you're just like, right, I'm just rolling up my sleeves, I'm ready to experiment, I'm ready to play around with this and just see what I can create, and you're coming at it from the perspective of just trying to create content that adds value, then you can't really go far wrong with that. How is everything performing? And then looking at what is the stuff that's performing and then why is it performing, and what's the stuff that's not performing and why is it not performing, and really digging into that to help you to see like what is it you need to do more of, what is it you need to do less of, and just constantly trying and tweaking and changing and adapting and evolving and trying and experimenting and literally that's it. Like that's it. That's what really successful people are doing. They are constantly experimenting and testing things and trying things and seeing if they can get a better result. So but I think that it's amazing because if you know your messaging isn't landing and you're like, right, what can I do about this? Like that is a really good place to be, because then you're open and willing to actually try something different. Because a lot of the time when people are like, oh, this doesn't work for me, that doesn't work for me, there's this blame for the thing. So like Instagram doesn't work for me. Well, that's absolute nonsense. Of course, Instagram will work for you or whatever, but it's just trying to find a way for it to work and then showing up to get it to work. Like it's such a powerful tool. And there is, a few people where it might be like the audience is not the right audience, perhaps, I don't know. But I think it's that owning that it's not working and recognizing that once you own it, you can do something about it. But if you don't own it and you think that it's things outside of you that are the problem, you can't do anything about it. And then you're completely stuck. So I just really see it as fun. And I think it's fun to start experimenting and thinking, ooh, what stuff is going to really, really land with my audience? And once you get into that creative, playful mindset with it, it's so cool, the things you can come up with and the fun hooks and the fun experiments you can test with your content to see like what does actually really, really work. Maybe I need to put together a list for you of different hooks that could work and different content ideas that work. Maybe I will do that and add it as a freebie that you can download along with this episode. I will get to work on it. So check the show notes for it. Just know that this happens to every single one of us, and it happens no matter how successful you are. It just always happens. It's always there, and it's not anything. It's not you failing or anything. It's just that we are all experimenting and things are landing and things are flopping for all of us, all the time. And so it's just really leaning into it and to being that investigator to keep creating more of the stuff that does work. So I hope this makes sense, and I will get to work on that freebie to help you with those hooks and things so that you can have a play around and experiment with some of those ideas. So I hope that helps you. If you have any more questions on this, fill out that form that I've linked in the show notes and let me know. And if not, I will see you next time for another episode of the She Means Business Show.